Welcome to Playmakers Rugby Stories. I'm Rikki Swannell, and this week we are catching up with a player whose name I'm sure you will know, but perhaps doesn't quite have the profile of some of her Black Ferns Sevens superstar teammates. I'm talking about Shakira Baker. She's played 13 tests for the Black Ferns 15s team before making the full-time switch to Sevens and has become a key cog in the team since about 2015. Shakira, kia ora, welcome in. How are you?
Kia ora, I'm very good, thank you.
Good, good, good. Look, before we go right back, I just want to go back to recent history. We've just ticked over 100 days to go until the Tokyo Olympics. Now, had they gone ahead last year, you weren't going to make it. What happened in Dubai at the end of 2019?
So, Dubai 2019, I ruptured my ACL in our final against Canada. So, yeah, if the Olympics had gone ahead last year, I definitely wouldn't have been able to trial or to compete at the Olympic Games.
Did you know it was bad when you did it? I think I commentated that game and I remember thinking that didn't look good at the time.
Yeah, I knew what I had done as soon as I did it because I had ruptured my other ACL in 2015. It definitely seemed a lot worse than previous. So, yeah, I pretty much knew exactly what I'd done when I'd done it.
That means you also would have known the time frame. Obviously, the rehab process that you go through, and that initial pain that you're in. But I'd imagine the pain mentally would have been just as tough that time around, knowing what you were potentially going to miss.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as I'd done it, I pretty much didn't cry or anything. All I was thinking was in my head was, oh my gosh, oh, what am I going to do? I was counting the months away from the Olympic Games. I was like, if I go without surgery, can I still make it? So many things were going through my head. It was half time, so I was sitting on the sideline as well, thinking things through my head. And initially I tried to rehab without surgery. It just wasn't going the way that I'd planned. And I guess everything happens for a reason, and opted to have surgery. And a year gone now, I'm back out on the field. So, yeah.
When the announcement got made last year that the Olympics were going to be postponed, and I guess we were all starting to think this was potentially going to happen. It was so tough on so many people. But for you, what was your reaction?
Obviously, I felt for all my sisters who were preparing so hard for that final date. But I guess in my head I was just like, oh my gosh, that gives me another opportunity to rehab, another opportunity to put my hand up. Obviously I had a long way to go with rehab and it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to. I had to go about 8 weeks ago just to have a clean out. But yeah, I guess initial thoughts was I get another opportunity to have a go at my dream.
Like the Black Ferns Sevens, you call each other sisters. You guys are so tight and so close. Do those relationships ever get tested, though, from time to time when you live in each other's pockets? You're all based in Tauranga. We used to be able to travel the world. Does it test relationships sometimes?
I guess when you've been in an environment, in a team environment for so long, you know when you need your space and you have time out to yourself. When we're in our training facilities, we're together, but when we're outside of our training facilities, we often just do our own thing. So we do get that time away from each other. Obviously, I live with Rikki, so we're pretty much constantly in each other's pocket, but we obviously have our space. We can go to the beach. We can go in our rooms. Like we know when we need our time and our space apart. So
you must be quite good on the TikTok then, because is Rikki like the TikTok queen of the Sevens team, or does she think she is?
No, Dice Faliafung is probably, and Alena Saili are probably the TikTok queens. But yeah, you know, they keep me updated with the latest dance moves. Not that I can do them, but yeah.
And that's the thing though, right? You've got you're sort of 29, you've got a couple of the old girls who are the over 30s, and then you've got 18, 19-year-olds. How does that balance? Because you're all in such different phases of your life.
Yeah, it's so funny that you put it like that because, you know, I live with Rikki and sometimes I forget how young she is. You know, we just actually like sisters. We forget how each other's age and things like that. There's obviously a little banter about little ones or like myself and things like that getting on a bit. But yeah, it's just, I guess we're just all sisters, we're just all family, and we treat each other like pretty much the same.
All right, let's go back to the start, Shakira. How did you get into the game?
So I started off in my younger days playing hockey till around 15, 16, and then Sharon Hayata, one of our school matrons, decided to ask me if I wanted to play in a tens tournament. So I was like, oh yeah, may as well give it a go. And yeah, from there I played in a Wairarapa Bush girls team. And then I got invited along to women's club training, Ikarahuna Women's Club, by Rebecca Mani. And yeah, just went on from there. We played in the Wellington competition first, and I managed to get a trial for the Wellington Pride. And yeah, just 16, went off from there. Yeah. So when I was 16, yeah, I got my first trial for the Pride and managed to make the team. And yeah, it was just all go from there, really. Was it natural? I mean, tell me a bit about your family. Was there rugby in the blood? Yeah, obviously. My uncle Shakira Baker, he played for Māori All Blacks. My brother played New Zealand secondary schools. So yeah, it was definitely, rugby was in the family. My family's a sporting family. My aunties played hockey and things like that. So yeah, sport was definitely a big influence in our family. Ikitahuna is a town that we always sort of in New Zealand. Oh yes, from Ikitahuna. We're talking small town New Zealand, Greytown, the Wairarapa. How do you go from those areas into the big smoke and getting spotted, and who helps you to get there? Yeah, Rebecca Mani was definitely a big influence on me in my rugby career. She, just being at such a young age, she used to pick me up, take me to trainings, go over the Rimataka Hill late at nights to go to FPC training, come back. Yeah, and I guess it was just support from other people around me as a young child, taking me to and from, the support of my family, also driving me around, supporting me. Definitely wouldn't have been able to get to where I am without them. Rebecca Mani. Yeah, we moved. Sorry, carry on. Oh, yeah. No, we moved from the Wellington competition to the Manawatu competition, and that's probably where I spent a couple of my seasons as well. Yeah. So Rebecca Mani is a former Black Fern and referee as well. When she started refereeing, did you have her as a ref? Yes, I did. So I loved seeing her, out and about. And obviously she refed on the World Series as well. So it was always, whenever I saw her, I gave her a big hug. Yeah. How important is it, I guess, to have, particularly when you are from smaller parts of New Zealand, rural New Zealand, to have people like that to really drive and push you? Yeah, I guess it is really important, just because you can get so lost in the mix. Just coming from a small town, it's hard to get noticed. So just having people there to, push you. Obviously, sometimes it's hard to find people with the same motivation as you in smaller areas. So, no, it was so cool to have a mentor and I guess an inspiration like her to help me through to get to where I am today. Did you ever imagine, when you're the 16-year-old driving over the Rimataka Hills with someone like Rebecca, where this could take you? Well, back in the day, rugby for women wasn't that big, and just seeing the growth from back then to now, I didn't see it as such a big deal as it is now, but it was definitely a goal of mine to wear that black jersey. I remember going to a Black Ferns match in Whanganui and seeing the Black Ferns play Australia, and I just remember Kala Hohepa gassing down the sideline, and I was like, I want to do that. So yeah, it was definitely seeing players like that definitely inspired me to definitely get a black jersey as well. Yeah. Is that something, that you and your teammates, both the Black Ferns 15s and 7s, are very aware of, that you are on TV and, you didn't necessarily get to see it all the time when you were growing up, nor did I, but now there are girls and boys who are watching you guys and thinking, oh, far out, I can do that? Yeah, it's so cool to see how big it's become and how popular the sport's becoming, and just seeing the youth coming through. Oh my goodness, just seeing them out there on the weekend, the future's bright.
Yeah, for sure. So you played 13 tests for Black Ferns 15s. Can you remember your debut?
Yeah, it was in England at Twickenham, I think after one of the Barbarians matches. Wow. But yeah, it was pretty special feeling singing the national anthem for the first time. Yeah.
Oh, just a casual debut at Twickenham.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I guess I wasn't really thinking at the time, but you know, when you're as young as you are, and you know, no one knows who you are, I guess you just get out there and do your thing.
Yeah. So, as I say, 13 tests, and you eventually made a transition to sevens full time. What was that when it became an Olympic sport and the Go for Gold program and all of that started up? How did you transition over?
Yeah, so there was a Go for Gold in Wellington that I decided that I'd just go along to, and it becoming an Olympic sport, I was like, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to give it a shot, and yeah, and then from there, I kept on being involved with it, and then got selected to play at a exhibition match in Wellington, I think it was, at the Wellington Sevens, and then just from there, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to keep on continuing with sevens.
What's the hardest part about the transition between those two? Because we see a couple of players going back and forth and trying to do both. It must be challenging though.
Yeah, it's definitely the fitness, the fitness aspect of things. But it's obviously less people on the field. Obviously, I play in the forwards, so I played in the backs in 15, so I'd never scrubbed, never lifted in the lineup, so that was quite different for me. But now, I guess the transition from sevens to 15s, it's longer periods of time in 15s. I haven't played 15s in 5 years, so I'm not too sure what it would be like these days. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, along with the Olympic postponement, there's been a World Cup postponement, so that's now going to be next year as well. Is 15s in the back of your mind? I know there are a few of your teammates in sevens who are keen to try and do both if possible.
Yeah, it's definitely been on my mind since it was announced that it was being in New Zealand. Obviously, my focus is at the moment trying to get my knee back to full strength, and Olympics on my mind. But now that it's postponed to next year, I guess that's another motivation to potentially put my hand up for.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's much on next year, Commonwealth Games, Sevens World Cup, 15s World Cup. But woman, mate, multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. Women are best at multitasking.
Totally. Well, speaking of, let's get away from rugby a little bit, talk about life outside of sport. Obviously close to your whānau down the way, but how many degrees or qualifications do you have? And I'm about to be put to shame.
Oh, no. I've got Bachelor of Science majoring in marine biology, minoring in stats, and graduate diploma in teaching.
And you have been a teacher?
Yes, I was teaching at Hamilton Girls High School in 2015, and was lucky enough to be Jasmine Hotham's math teacher.
What was she like? We know how good she is at footy. What was she like at maths?
Oh, she was A+.
Oh,
yeah, definitely.
Total overachiever.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy teaching? I know you do a bit of tutoring now still with maths, but you enjoy it?
Yeah. So I managed to do some relieving as well, just whilst I was rehabbing, and we didn't really have much on last year. So that was cool getting back into it. And I do enjoy, obviously, teaching, helping people, tutoring, getting into it. It makes me feel good. Yeah.
I guess it's like you can see the reward, right? Like you can see kids improving and whatever.
Yeah, definitely helping people understand something that they don't really know, and also when they get it is so rewarding, I guess.
Yeah. As someone who failed what was then school C maths, probably not my strongest, but we'll keep trying. the marine biology side, that's fascinating. So you did that out of high school?
Yeah, so I guess I was always interested in the ocean, and I'm just going to say it, my favorite animal was dolphins. So I was like, oh, you know, well, I'm just going to do it. Marine biology, we didn't really study, you know, the things that I thought it was going to be. But hey, you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. And no, I found it really interesting. I did it through Victoria University. And then decided that I was playing rugby at the same time, and if I wanted to keep playing rugby and study, I would probably wouldn't be able to fit it in, so I decided to just do the graduate teaching diploma.
Yeah. And the stats side, does that make you like a rugby stats geek?
Nah, when I'm in rugby, I switch off from all of that sort of stuff, so I'm like, I understand it, but, you know, put it in front of me, I'll be like, no, I'm good, thank you.
Well, is it something, what do you think you'll go back to once rugby is done? Not that I'm putting you into retirement or anything just yet, you're still only 29. Plenty of time, but having those to fall back on, is there something that you would like to do with either of those degrees or professions in the future?
Yeah, I definitely lucky enough that I can just fall back on my teaching. Definitely probably want to get back into the school environment once I've finished with rugby, and see where that goes to from there.
How important do you think it is, Shakira, for female players to have that? It's something that maybe have had to have been more mindful of, have an education, something behind you, something else you can go back to?
Yeah, I think it was really important for me, especially back in the day when it wasn't a professional sport for women, just making sure that you had something to fall back on, because for me it was getting injured, getting decontracted. I was lucky enough that I'd done my studies and that I could go straight back into a teaching job. Yeah, so I guess it's really important in that sense.
Did you lose your contract somewhere along the way?
Yeah, in 2015 I got decontracted, and that's when I became my teacher at Hamilton Girls High School, and then was returned to play at the end of 2015 and managed to get a training contract in 2016 and managed to teach and train at the same time.
How much did, and this was probably still the very early days of contracted players, but how much did losing that contract motivate you for Rio and now everything that has happened since?
Yeah, it definitely was disheartening. I had just done my ACL at the end of 2014, and so there was that whole life outside of rugby. It really taught me that I hadn't had a proper job until I pretty much became a teacher. So it was, I guess, that really helped me grow up, really helped me see that there's life outside of rugby, how important it is to have study and things there to, in case, you know, your dream, something happens. But yeah, definitely motivated me to get back out there. I love the sport so much. Managed to play nationals at the end of 2015, and yeah, it's just all go from there.
And as well as you get the sun shining in your eyes. It's too sunny in the Wairarapa. It looks too good. There you are. There we go. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Everything in Wairarapa, that's where the sunshine is at the moment. As well as the two knee injuries, the other thing that you have had and that you live with is a heart condition. And I know you've spoken out before. If you're comfortable to talk about, can you tell us a little bit about what that means for you, or what it is and what that means?
Yeah, so I have a heart condition called long QT syndrome, which is irregular heartbeat. So they picked it up in 2014, I think it was, where I had to have a medical, and they picked it up through an ECG. Yeah, so I had to have a sympathectomy, which they burnt a nerve, which controlled my heart rate, and I also had to go on medication and have a defib with me if I wanted to continue playing rugby. Well,
was it, I mean, I'd imagine mildly terrifying?
I guess for me, because I had no symptoms whatsoever. Right. I remember we were just preparing to go to China for a World Series tournament, And the day that we were about to leave for Auckland to fly out, the coach had to tell me that I wasn't eligible to go. So that was pretty guttering, given that I had no symptoms, nothing that I could see physically wrong with me. But I guess it's a blessing in disguise because they picked it up, and I'm able to continue to play.
Does it impact you at all now?
No, not at all. So the beta blockers were like quite hard to train with, given that I'd had no symptoms and nothing happening to me throughout the years that I've been playing. I've been able to come off those, which has been really good. But yeah, just having a defib there at all times when I'm training is probably the main thing.
Who's in charge of the defib? Do you have to look after it? Do you have to remember? Or is that the medical staff?
It's whoever's on physio has to help out and remember where that is. Obviously, I can't use it on myself, but you know, you open it up and it talks to you, tells you what to do. They're pretty like accessible in public places as well. But yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. We're, as we said, less than 100 days now till Tokyo. You were part of the Rio team. How does Rio drive and still spur you all on for those that were there, well, coming up 5 years ago now?
Yeah, I think there's a big bunch of us who are still around who attended the Olympic Games, and I guess we see it as unfinished business. You know, that was hard to obviously train for so long and fall short, and I guess that motivation just drives us a little bit more to trying to achieve that goal. Obviously, we got the gold at Com Games, but you know, 5 years going to be now to keep pushing on and hopefully achieve that gold medal.
The build-up is so strange to Tokyo. You've obviously had the games in Wellington recently. Hopefully we'll play maybe Australia, Fiji beforehand. But is it a case kind of that the build-up just has to be good enough? There's enough depth within the squad that you can you get a rough idea of where you're going to be by the time you get to Tokyo?
Yeah, I think having the competition within our squad is quality games as well. So having the best players in New Zealand playing against each other, we're getting good quality games, but just I guess having different styles of playing is probably what we were missing at the time. But hopefully we're able to get across the ditch and test ourselves in that sense. But yeah, it's definitely a crazy build up to what we were planning on.
Yeah. If you had to describe the Black Ferns Sevens, who have just been so wildly successful, such a tight-knit unit, if you had to describe what that team is like to somebody who didn't know, what would you describe? What makes that team tick?
It's a hard one. I guess it's just, yeah, like a family. Obviously, it's not good all the time. There's going to be your ups, there's going to be your downs, there's fights, there's laughter, there's crying. It's just a tight-knit family that we're all open, we're all honest with each other. It's a fun environment to be within, and I think it's led from the top. It comes from the top, and it just flows through to the rest of the players. It starts from management, goes through to our leaders amongst our players, and yeah, I guess it's just a really fun. Have our ups and downs. We argue, you know, but we just a close-knit family.
Does it kind of make it that whatever will be, you're such a strong unit that whatever happens in the next couple of months, you won't have, there's nothing that none of you did, whatever the outcome is, if that makes sense? If I can use the word.
I guess as long as you know you've done all that you can to put your best foot forward. Obviously there's going to be disappointment, obviously there's going to be elation, there's going to be all different types of emotion within the environment in the next couple of months, but just knowing that, you know, you've put your best foot forward, you've done all that you can, and just be there for the team and for everyone else.
Awesome. Well, we wish you and your team all the best. It's great to see you back out there. Hopefully the knee's coming along great guns and you'll be on that plane to Tokyo. Thank you so much, Shakira.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries, thank you. There's Shakira Baker here on Playmakers Rugby Stories, one of the absolute standouts in the Black Ferns Sevens side, and we cannot wait to see them in action at the Tokyo Olympics in a couple of months' time. Remember, you can catch all our Playmakers Rugby Stories and all the other Sky Sport podcasts wherever you get your good podcasts from, or you can always catch us here on Sky Sport. We'll see you next time.